You're listening to Chillworthy,
a podcast where two best friends discuss mysteries, murders, and anything in between for your enjoyment.
So if you're ready to hear some chilling and unsettling cases, you're in the right place. Happy listening. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chillworthy with Brent and Talia.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you?
Wonderful. Fine.
It's freaking gorgeous out.
It's a beautiful day, but It is chilly.
It is chilly, yes. Very breezy, but the freaking sky is so beautiful looking. It is so sunny, and it wasn't even supposed to be like this today.
Well, wonders never cease.
A nice surprise from Mother Nature.
Yes. You have any updates for us? With your 15-minute chunk?
No, not life updates.
Book updates?
Hell
That
yeah.
is life.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, you've read them in your life, one assumes.
What'd you say?
You've read them in your life, right? What are they?
Okay.
Show me.
So I talked about that last time. Okay, so I started The Night We Lost Him.
Okay.
Think for a quick minute on what that was about. Author is Laura Dave.
Laura Ingalls.
Wilder.
You know, when I was a little kid, I actually thought that she literally did grow up on the prairie.
Aww.
Like that was them, almost like it was some weird documentary.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Very bizarre.
Right. Oh, you were a kiddo.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it was good. I really liked it. It was about a man who ends up falling off of a cliff, and it's unknown, like, did he mean to do that? Was it an accident? Was somebody else there with him?
I feel like you have said this.
Oh, yeah? No.
A little bit.
Oh.
You said it starts where he fell off a cliff and it was obvious he was pushed.
Maybe I didn't finish it. I thought it was as if he was pushed.
Okay.
It seems that way how it starts. I gave it 4 stars. Very quick read. Very it was just like a nice pace. The characters I thought were all likable. It's essentially his adult children trying to figure out what happened to him. And there appears to be this big chunk of his life no one really knew about. And they're kind of trying to piece that together and what occurred. So I really did enjoy it. Started Lone Women, finished that. I was going to give that a solid 3 stars, ended up moving to 4. That's the one I told you about, that it takes place in 1915, and it's a horror. And I was like, okay, well,
the daughter pouring gasoline.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. The book starts, the opening, I don't even know if it's the first chapter, or if it's the foreword, or no, maybe it wouldn't be the foreword. Intro? I don't know. Her parents, are deceased. They're in their beds. She's pouring gasoline everywhere and lights it. But the way she's acting and she's speaking to the bodies, you're getting the impression she didn't kill them, but you don't know what happened. So it was a very kind of a feminist book, I would say, but it's not, I don't know, it doesn't I don't want to give too much away. It was very moving. Definitely kept me interested. It was another not really a huge book, and I was teetering. I was pretty solid on 3, but then the way the ending seemed to be going, I was thinking this might actually go up, and oh my god, the ending was fantastic. I gave it a 4.
Wow.
That author is Victor Lavalle.
Sure.
Yeah. And then remember the Sapphic novel that I read probably a year or 2 ago, Legends and Lattes, and it was a fantasy. She's an orc, and she starts a coffee shop and
something bookstores and bone dust or
yes. So that's this last one that I started. Definitely not as good as the first. Which this isn't even my genre, as you know. So, but
I do know
this was getting a little tricky to finish. I gave it 3.
Okay.
In the meantime, I have started, which I think you read this, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. She's the one who wrote The Hunting Party, which I freaking loved. So this is kind of along the same lines. It's a wedding in Ireland on this island that's not deserted, but very isolated, and you can't reach it when there's a bad storm. Very Agatha Christie-esque. Somebody dies, nobody knows who, whatever.
Let me assume there was a storm that happened.
I don't want to give anything
I
away.
see.
I also started, this is that author, not to say that you don't like her, but whenever I bring this up, you just shudder. I don't even know how to say her name. Elin Hilderbrand. I told you about, like, they're like the seashore ocean.
I knew exactly what you meant.
Right. Well,
Christmas on the boardwalk.
no, but yes. So she has like all these summer series ones, not the holiday. I mean, they're all in Nantucket still, but so this one is called Golden Girl. It's this woman who is like very successful. She's an author, ends up getting killed accidentally. Well, you think, I mean, I assume it's an accident. Maybe it's not. We'll find that out, but it appears it's an accident. And like, she dies, but then she's observing what's happening down after her death, like down below on Earth. She like is in, I don't know if it's heaven exactly, but she's in like the after world of some kind.
Yeah.
So I started that. That's good. And I also started Spirit Crossing. That's like my book. The other two are on my Kindle. And it's by William Kent Kruger. And I'm only at 15%. So basically it's about an indigenous family, and they are like affiliated with the police department. There's like a police department on the reservation, then there's like a sheriff's department in town. There are relatives who work in both, and then this white woman, a politician's daughter, goes missing, and people suspect she's been killed, but I'm not sure yet. So like I said, it's very, very early on, but like the family goes blueberry picking, and they end up finding like
blueberries,
a recently dug grave, and it's an indigenous woman, so it's not the politician's daughter. So it's like fine. Like, I'm definitely into it. It's not the most fantastic book so far I've ever read, but it's fine. And lastly, you'll be very blown away by this. So, we have a treadmill that I don't use, and it's just sitting there. What a freaking waste. So finally I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to start walking on the treadmill. So I was saying to Ashley, like, what am I going to do while I do it? Like, I'm going to get bored, and I never get bored, and I guess I'll just think about things. And I was like, I'll just listen to music, I guess. And then she's like, well, why don't you start an audiobook? And I was like, no, I don't do that. And she's like, that could be like what gets you to use the treadmill consistently, like seeing what is going to happen next in the book and see. I said, I don't know. So I went looking to see what was available, and one that a mutual friend of ours had sent to me like a while ago as a possibility for a book. They had it as an audiobook. The One by John Mars. I don't think you'd love it. I feel like and then like for me, it's like passing the time. It's an interesting concept. Basically,
they turn into animals or something?
No.
Oh.
It's like it's a dating app. I don't know if it's a dating app. I don't know if you'd call it that. It's basically like this, your DNA matched with your match. Like, but it's everyone only, is going to be paired with one person. And if you haven't like signed up for this, and you may not have your match, you have to pay money to like do it. Then you have to pay money once you are matched to get the results of your match. And like, this could be, you could, be a straight person and get paired with the same sex. You could be 20 and get paired with a 60-year-old, like all different variables.
Okay.
So you're following 4 characters in this story. So it's good. It's not fantastic. Like I said, I think it's an interesting concept. It made me think of one that you started recently, or maybe you even, had talked about finishing it, but the one where you said it was different narrators.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what this is. So that's good. But I will say it's just my mind wanders a lot. So I have to rewind a lot. And it's reminding me of college. Like, if I don't like the voice of someone, it's harder for me to retain the information of what I'm hearing. So I'm going to see this through and finish it.
Good.
I don't know if this is going to be something I do again. It's definitely a better experience than when I told you I tried To Kill a Mockingbird, which I knew like was a solid book that I already liked. But it was Sissy Spacek or whatever her name is. She was the narrator, and I couldn't get into it. Couldn't. Do you have any fish facts for us?
No, I think we're done with those. I haven't bought any more fish, so what the hell am I supposed to talk about?
I wouldn't say we're done with those. I think we're just, I was going to say stalling. We're not stalling. We're having
the tank is still going.
Right.
It's overgrown, extremely so.
Well, this one plant I said to you earlier, and I just can't take my eyes off of it. The way the light is hitting it and just how it looks, it freaking reminds me of like a paper fan with the design. It's
Tiger
beautiful.
lotus.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I am still in the Mistborn universe, obviously.
Right. Did we go into a deep dive on that for the chillers last time? You did explain.
Yeah, we talked about the metals and
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now I'm on the second book.
Oh shit.
So, it didn't grab me like Harry Potter did when I was a child.
Sure.
But it's not I'm enjoying the book. So, nothing I still would recommend it as I'm going through it, but I'm not quite halfway through the second book, so I assume the last half of the second and most likely the third should be pretty engaging, usually in a trilogy. So
as it goes, and you did end up getting the larger book size, like
yes, I got normal size books, but these books are like 600 to 700 pages each.
I think you were gonna say $600-$700. I was gonna say, jeez.
So
these are big boys.
Yeah, they're thick.
Thickos. I feel like when I see 400, I'm like, oh yikes, this is a doozy. But freaking, well, no, I guess that's not double. What did you say, 600 to 700?
Yeah.
That's a lot. A lot.
And I saw this thing on TikTok that I started, which is like spine training your book.
Oh.
So it's like it's only for paperbacks. But, I remember once you said to me,
I can't stand paperbacks.
I remember once I gave you like a paperback or something and you were like, it doesn't even look like you've read it. And it's because I barely open it.
Oh, I'm pretty rough on paperbacks.
I open it like just enough to read and then delicately turn those pages. So these people on TikTok, though, when they get one, they set it down on a table so that the spine is flat against the table, and they take both sides of the book and fold it out not page by page, but like 10,
chunk
15 pages
chunk.
at a time out. Lay it down flat so that the spine never actually cracks, but now all the pages are fanned out. So when you're reading the book, it's floppy and not real stiff. So I tried that. It was all right. But the spine didn't crack.
Yeah, which is good.
So
you'll do this now going forward with paperbacks,
potentially,
you think?
at least with this series.
Right.
So
Right. Related, unrelated, I wanted to say with my rating system, I was looking at a review on Goodreads the other day, and this girl broke down how she rates books, like what a 1 would mean to her, what a 2. She goes up to 5. And I loved it, and it's exactly what I think. It's exactly how I view. Okay, here we go. It's nothing crazy, but the way she words it, I just love it. So 5 is she adored it. 4 is she enjoyed it. 3 is that she liked it fine. She's neutral about it. 2 is disliked it, and 1 is hated it. No rating is she read it too long ago, doesn't remember, or doesn't have enough memory of it to even give it a rating. Like it doesn't pack enough of a punch, I guess. I loved it.
I thought that's how it always was.
I have, 3 and 4, I never knew how to word how I differentiate between a 3 and a 4. I guess more so how I would word a 3,
I guess.
And I loved it. And even a 2, I guess. I didn't really know how to say that. And I've only given, I think, 2 books in my life 2 stars.
I see.
I think. No, that's not true. 1. And then there was one that I gave a 1. Bastard out of
Blood.
Carolina. Oh my God, I forgot about that too.
What a joke.
Poor Truman Capote.
I hated that book.
I know.
When you're telling me that this is supposed to be a true story, and then you're telling me about some girl who's in the kitchen making a pie, but you weren't there to know whether she made a freaking pie or not and what she thought about the crust. Bullshit. I don't know. We don't have time for that. We haven't the time. Okay.
Your topic today.
Yeah, we're past our 15. Okay, so my topic is not going to be a true crime. It is going to be a, folklore, legend,
Supernatural
cryptid kind of thing. Yes. Something that I think almost everyone has probably heard of. You'll probably say you haven't, but
I was just going to say that.
I think you will. But it's the legend of Mothman.
No idea what you're talking about. Oh my God. Oh my God. I almost dropped my seltzer can. It is empty. But as I told you this morning, I thought a can was empty that I was like, guzzling on the way to your house, crumpled it, put it in between my legs to hold, and I freaking got soaked.
Yeah.
You never know. All right,
I guess you don't.
Oh, Mothman Prophecies. Isn't that a movie? I've heard of that movie. I don't know anything else, but.
Yeah, well, I've heard of this thing for so long, but I've like never had an interest in finding out anything about it.
Why did you then?
For the podcast. What a question.
But what made you of all things?
Why are you bothering us with this?
If you never had an interest.
Because it's popular. It's so I guess we should know about this.
Oh, it's popular.
So anyway, listen to this little thing here.
I'm listening.
Okay. I feel like this is like a little rhyme that you would tell your children about Mothman.
To scare them.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
For sure.
Okay.
When silence swells and winds grow still,
You love this shit.
the air will shift, the night turns chill.
Yeah.
A shadow moves where none should be, with burning eyes you're meant to see. A creature glides on silent wing. Fear within you starts to ring. An owl, a bat, or something more. Perhaps the Mothman at your door. Under the covers, in the blink of an eye, and hope morning light soon fills the sky.
I mean.
So, that'll keep your children in at night. In and safe.
Full of nightmares.
So, yes, that's just a little nursery rhyme about Mothman.
You love
Mothman. All right, so picture this. It is a chilly November night in 1966.
Sicily, 1938.
1922. We are in the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Two young married couples. The first couple is Roger and Linda Scarberry, or Scarberry, as I would say.
Thornberry.
Thornberry.
Ow, I just hit the microphone against my tooth. That's how good I'm being about keeping it in front of my mouth today.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're being good, but I'll never know
I'm on it, man.
Until I get into editing. But anyway, and then the other were Steve and Mary Millette.
Okay.
So they're driving down a very kind of desolate, lonely back road near an old World War II
Memorial.
Yeah, it says site known as the TNT area.
Huh.
So, which from those, Looney Tunes cartoons.
I was totally thinking of the little dynamite stick thing.
That Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, jackass.
I didn't like him, yeah.
No.
So all of a sudden, their car headlights, they catch something strange by one of these old power plants that are there. And it's a large figure. It's 6 or 7 feet tall. It has huge wings and it has glaring red eyes. And one of the quotes was, "It was like a man with wings," one of the couples had said. They later recalled with a, during an interview. Not like anything you'd seen on TV or in a monster movie. So in the next frantic moments of these people seeing this, the creature spreads its wings and ends up chasing the car as they speed away, apparently in terror, which, I mean, I'd say that's fair.
Jurassic Park T-Rex scene.
Yeah, yes. Must go faster.
Malcolm. What was that show that we watched, but I didn't know you watched it? I watched it. I think possibly Netflix, and I kind of want to rewatch it. It wasn't that outstanding, but I freaking loved it. the description of this thing is making me think of the devil or whatever it was in this show. It was like very Catholic based.
Oh, I know. I don't remember.
What the hell was that
they were
show?
on an island.
Yes,
Yeah.
that little seashore town.
Yeah.
What the hell was that show called?
I don't remember.
And I feel like there was something Catholic sounding in
It was very
the title.
religious, yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm imagining.
Okay, yeah, that's
Like,
fair enough.
Yeah.
So the creature, like I said, starts chasing this car. They're trying to speed away. Roger, I guess, is the one driving. He like puts the pedal to the metal, as they say. He claimed he hit speeds over 100 miles an hour. But apparently this winged creature just like swooped and glided behind them, just keeping up, not having a hard time.
Like just effortlessly right there. Now I'm picturing Winnie on the broom.
If only.
In the car.
I'd stop.
Can we chat a minute?
Please. Can we please talk?
Yes.
I just want to, let's just do some stuff.
While I have you.
I picture, yours isn't a bad reference either, but what I picture is the guy from Jeepers Creepers.
I never saw that.
That movie is horrific.
For you to say that,
just
if
it's
she's
very
saying-
it's a very scary movie in my opinion, like especially the original. Like they made two like following movies which are like a little bit lackluster, but that first movie, that was some scary ass shit. And I think it was based on a real story. So like, which is kind of crazy because this thing is like a monster mutant, but
it's a bug, or this is about bugs? No.
a bug? No, it's like a man, but he has wings like a bat and stuff. So I mean, that's what I picture. And you know, the thing is definitely he's a scary son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So
while we're discussing this, just so the chillers can look this up if they wish, I want to find the name of that show that I was just referencing that we both watched. Midnight Mass. Yes, Midnight Mass. And you know how I heard about it? I didn't know you watched it. The Girls, that podcast that we've been listening to for years that we're both obsessed with.
Yes.
They talked about it, and I thought, what is this? And then
it was a good show.
Oh, hell yeah. Except I feel like it was kind of... I didn't love the ending. Like, I felt like they could have kept this going.
Yeah.
It didn't need to end.
But sometimes that's the best way to do it, when you want more.
Yes.
Instead of when you're like, what
Why
the
did
hell?
this continue?
Right.
Why are they going in this direction? Yes.
Right.
Good call.
I think that should be one of our off days is we watch Jeepers Creepers.
If you thought it was really scary, though, I feel like I'm going to be super scared.
Maybe. All right. So anyway, this thing's flying effortlessly behind them, you know, fine. So now the couples, they escape, they reach the town, and they're very like shaken up, and they are like in disbelief of what they had just seen. And it sounds just like your alien story.
I was thinking that too.
You know.
Now, were these two couples boozing it up beforehand? Drugging
it doesn't
up?
say that.
Yeah.
It didn't, you know, nowhere was it saying that they were
Under the
doing
influence.
that. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
maybe, but so Roger describes himself as a tough guy, just so you know. And he said, even as a tough guy, I'm hard to scare. But last night, I was for getting out of there.
I'm sorry, what? What?
I'm a hard guy to scare, but last night I was for getting out of there.
Nice.
Which I do love the rhyme. They are like convinced that they had encountered something otherworldly. Well, yeah,
Absolutely.
if that's what you're saying is flying behind your car, then if I saw that, I would be convinced as well. So
A dinosaur.
now, unlike your two men, they actually went right to the police, not to the news.
Not to the newspaper in town with the locked door.
So they go to the police at 2 a.m. And apparently the sheriff's deputies seemed to believe to some extent, I don't know, maybe it was just the way they seemed so serious or scared or shaken up, but they did kind of like send out some search units to like just look around this area that they were claiming to be like, show me what's happening here.
Right.
So they go out to that remote area. They have flashlights. They have radios. They find nothing. So there was no sign of this Birdman, as they put it, or whatever it was. Which, of course, reminds me of Dorothy, don't forget the Birdman.
Oh, my God.
But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
But they could tell that these witnesses were, like I said, absolutely serious and freaking scared. So, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. It does say none of the 4 had been drinking.
Oh.
So, and all of them stuck to this same
consistent story.
Nuts story.
Right.
Yeah.
Stable Mabel.
So, you know, in a small town, obviously news is going to travel very fast. Certainly of a moth Birdman thing. So the very next day, so November 16th, 1966, the local newspaper, the Point Pleasant Register, put out a very now famous headline. And the headline was, "Couples see man-sized bird ... creature ... something!" ! Wow. That reminds me of when we go to the holistic health fair and we go, Talia and I go to a table, big table with a bunch of crystals.
A big boy.
And they'll write like,
oh my God, yes.
citrine, wow. Or, you know, amethyst, rare. They like to let us know, which I don't mind.
With their exclamation points.
Yes.
I just don't know why the citrine is getting it and not the Bumby Jasper. Like, it's, you know, it is the more like flashy stuff, I suppose, but not always.
No, not always.
I just
Certainly
don't know
not.
who decides. But good call, man.
So this encounter was the talk of the town and was, you know, because everybody's wondering, like, was there this red-eyed, winged creature just haunting the woods and the back roads of Point Pleasant? You know, I don't know. Something sounds creepy but cozy to me about that. I guess more because it's like, you know, it's the backwoods, the back roads. So if you stay out of the backwoods and back roads, you should be fine.
True.
You know, you want to go.
Wings
Right.
will travel.
Yeah. I'm just saying you want to go get a fright, like go back there. But if not,
Fright.
just chill out.
Right.
Go
Stay
get
at
some
home.
ice cream. So in the days that follow this report, there's kind of like, there's a little bit of panic in the town, I guess. And there's a lot of curiosity. And Point Pleasant is just immersed in this.
It's happen.
So, of course, obviously, many people laughed it off as just like a loaful. A bread of loaf. A local prank or a misidentified animal. Well, that's one hell of a big animal.
Oh,
but,
exactly.
but
I maintain a dinosaur.
Yeah, yes. But then more sightings begin to happen.
With other people?
Yes.
Wow.
And once these other sightings started to happen, the legend of Mothman was born. So the name Mothman, we're not totally sure, but it was likely coined by the press, inspired by what was going on at that moment, which was the Batman TV craze.
Interesting. Well, and also how you just said that it most likely came from the press. Like, that's how serial killers are typically nicknamed, by the press.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess there was a killer moth man
In
on
the movie?
Batman or something. No, I think like
Oh.
I'm thinking it was like through the comics that got to the TV. So I don't think they had released Batman movies yet in 1966. I don't know though.
Right.
So, but within 3 days of this couple's initial, well, the two couples' initial sightings, 8 other people had said that they saw a similar giant flying creature flying around Point Pleasant.
And that's a good number. Like, we're not even talking 3 other people, which even that I think would be like, wow, but 8, that's almost 10.
You're saying a lot of very obvious sentences in a row. Now, 3 is less than 8. 8 is a little less than 10. 10's a little less than 12.
I'm just amazed that there were that many. My eyes are watering. You know, I mean, that's pretty insane. I wasn't expecting
Wild times.
I'll say.
Yeah. I don't even know where to go from there. Okay, yeah. So 8 people saw a similar flying creature.
Now, may I ask?
I guess.
Were these 8, were like 2 or 3 together, or are these all 8 separate
I don't
incidents?
have that information.
All right, I was just asking.
But thank you.
Surely.
Now, 2 volunteer firemen reported what they saw. So I guess 2 of them were together,
Good
at
call.
least. They saw a large bird with red eyes, and they said it did not look like a man. There was another local woman named Marcella Bennett, but she might have had the scariest encounter of the 8. So this is what happened to her. On the evening of November 16th, she was 21 years old.
Oh, baby.
Marcella Bennett visited friends who lived near that, it literally says here, TNT area.
That World War II
Right,
thing.
yes.
Yeah.
And she had with her infant daughter.
Oh, my God. A legit baby.
So as Marcella walks back to her car, she says a big gray figure suddenly rose up from the ground behind her.
Oh, no, thank you.
She said it was, quote unquote, bigger than a man with terrible glowing red eyes. End quote. So she's shocked at what she sees. Marcella dropped her baby. Now it does say, thankfully, the baby was all right. But she dropped her baby.
Please don't tell me and then she ran.
No. And froze in fear at the sight of whatever this creature was kind of standing before her.
She went to go fight it.
I don't think so. I said she froze.
Well, I know,
in
but
fear.
then...
I feel like your next thing is like, well, froze starts with an F, and fight also starts with an F. And so they also have it's almost like that they have the same amount of letters. So like, could that also be that? No. I meant froze, not fight.
Oh, my God.
I guess there was a friend with her, and this friend grabs Marcella, who's, I guess, like hysterical at this point, and they all run inside the house. I'm assuming somebody picked up the baby.
God, I would hope so.
And they lock the doors.
Wait.
Yeah.
They're at the TNT thing. What house was there?
No, they lived near the TNT area of this World War II area.
Okay.
Yeah. So they weren't like walking around abandoned gold mines or whatever the hell happens there. But they were just close to it.
I see.
So they all run inside. So this mysterious thing starts shuffling around on the front porch and looking in the windows at them, which I know is chill-worthy for you.
I
for damn
legitimately
sure.
just got the chills, yes.
So it watched them through the windows for a little while before vanishing into the night. Marcella was so traumatized by this encounter that she sought medical treatment for anxiety right afterwards. So again, kind of, it reminds me of your
alien,
people.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah, Calvin.
So this was her description. It rose up slowly from the ground, a big gray thing, bigger than a man with terrible glowing red eyes. So that description became one of the classic first-hand accounts that investigators would just cite over and over again as...
the description.
Yeah, as
like
just...
official.
Right. Like, hey, have you seen the Mothman? It was blah, 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 kind of thing.
The gray comment makes me imagine almost like this huge wolf, like a skinny, kind of like the thing, dare I say again, from Midnight Mass, but that was, if I remember correctly, hairless. This, I'm imagining, not that anybody's talking about fur, but I'm imagining like the thing from Midnight Mass covered in like a wolfy gray fur, sort of.
Well, some moths have that little fuzz.
Oh, they do have the little fuzz.
I was one for Halloween, if you recall.
I do.
So I know what moths have. That was her report. So now there were even more reports that started coming in. Newell Partridge, Newell.
Mm-hmm.
He was a contractor, and he lived about 90 miles away. So he lived in Salem, West Virginia. He told a story of strange happenings on the same November night as the original 2 couples saw the creature. He says around 10:30 at night, he was watching TV, and the TV started acting like weird. It started being like fuzzy, and back
Bad
then,
reception.
right? Yes. Now it's like, oh, Netflix stopped working like son of a bitch. But
And
then it was
freezes.
like, hey, what's going on here? Satellites and stuff.
Rabbit ears.
Yes. So there were like bizarre patterns on the TV, weird buzzing noises, things like that. He had a German Shepherd
Oh, what was its
named
name?
Bandit. And
Bandit.
he started howling outside at like just an empty field, or what we
good
assume
God.
is empty.
Yeah, the dog sure as shit knows that it's not empty, and you know it.
So when Newell used a flashlight to look into the darkness,
I'm getting the chills literally every 4
perfect,
seconds.
wonderful, that's what we're here for. He saw 2 red circles. He said they looked like bicycle reflectors looking back at him from the darkness.
Which is such a specific, I think that makes his version, all of these people I believe, but that they saw this, but I feel like Newell's is so genuinely honest and just has that vibe because of what he compared it to. That was such a specific comparison,
Sure.
I just think it really solidifies his claim.
Okay. I mean, a bicycle has wheels, like a car has wheels. And those couples were driving in a car.
Airplanes have
It
wheels.
must be true. So I guess Bandit sprinted towards the glowing eyes and vanished.
What a brave soul trying
And
to save his dad.
Tragically, Bandit never came back.
Are you effing kidding me?
That's what he says.
The dog never returned.
Which, of course, makes me go right back to that heinous movie which you love, Jaws, where that dog never comes back.
I know.
Your comfort movie. What did you... That and The Exorcist, yes. But you won't watch Jeepers Creepers. Anyway. So, poor little Bandit never comes back from what Newell reports.
That makes me want to vomit.
The next day, though, Newell, because, he wasn't going out searching, I guess, after seeing these huge red eyes and a dog that doesn't come back. The next day, though, during the daylight, he finds paw prints that went in circles and then just stopped without continuing, as if something just lifted the
Gobbled
dog
him up.
in the air and left.
Oh.
Like he was following dog tracks, and then the dog tracks just stopped.
Gone.
There wasn't like a scuffle, or like a clearing of like scratches and stuff. Just dog prints, and then no dog prints.
Yeah. And I assume you would have said this if this was the case, he didn't report hearing Bandit yelping or crying or anything.
No.
Yeah.
So then he heard about the reports from Point Pleasant, and Partridge then suspected that this could have been the same creature. And yes, he was miles and miles away, but if you're a huge-ass creature who can fly, I guess that's not that crazy. I mean,
exactly.
Flying on big-ass moth wings might get you pretty far pretty quick.
Absolutely.
So, or maybe there were more than one. Who knows?
More than one Mothman?
Maybe. So anyway, so he's thinking that's what happened with his encounter and his dog being missing.
Rest in peace, Bandit.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, a group of grave diggers in a nearby county, which, of course, that one brings me back to Double Toil and Trouble.
The Moonstone.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Same. That one is hard to find. I think I found it on some...
I have it on DVD, so I never have to find it.
Good for you, man. I found it on some weird, obscure app years ago. I haven't even tried since. The clarity was so bad, but I freaking sat there and watched it.
Oh, I love that movie.
That's a goodie.
So there's a group of grave diggers in a nearby county, and they also had an odd story. They claimed that a few days before the Scarberry encounter, they had seen what they described as a brown being swoop low over a cemetery while they were digging a grave. One of the men, whose name was Kenneth Duncan, said the flying figure glided through the trees for about a minute before it disappeared.
So did not try to come near them, didn't...
That's correct. So these tales, they spread throughout the local area, and there was a lot of gossip and newspapers. And because there was so many different sightings all of a sudden from so many different people, people were becoming convinced that something very weird was going on in the backwoods of West Virginia.
Hell yeah.
So night after night, armed locals go out looking for this creature.
Armed? They were going to shoot it.
Or something, I guess. And reporters from all over flocked to this town to get a piece of the action.
This is insane.
Which I don't know why all these movie references are coming to me, but that reminds me of Gale
oh my
Weathers.
God, Weathers. I haven't watched. That's another comfort movie, and I haven't seen that one in a long time.
I haven't watched it in a long time either, but I'm very excited for
Hell yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
They are doing a next screen too, yeah, but
yes, no, I'm totally in agreement with you on that about Jurassic Park. That's this summer, correct?
yeah, July.
I was going to say have it in the calendar.
So Mary Hyre, Hyre. I don't know why I like to spell these last names, but I want everyone to know.
Exactly. And if they want to look up these particular people, they have the correct spelling, like authors.
Right. So Mary, she is a journalist, and she works at the Athens Messenger in the neighboring state of Ohio. And she was one of the first people to write an article describing this winged, red-eyed thing that's been chasing people around this one specific area of West Virginia. So national press then, they start picking up this story because it just keeps growing and growing in popularity and fascination and curiosity, whatever. So now the national press services pick it up and they start calling this creature Mothman. And soon the entire country knows about Point Pleasant and this mysterious flying monster that they apparently have on their hands. So as sightings continued to multiply, some people started to genuinely fear that there was a dangerous monster flying around this town.
Of course.
So, which, I mean, that is an interesting thing to think about. Like if people in a town where you lived were just like, yeah, I saw this thing. It followed me for 3 blocks. And then the other one's like, yeah, I was taking out my trash and I saw this thing sitting up in a tree.
I saw the bicycle reflectors.
Yeah, I mean, you would start getting a little paranoid, one would imagine.
Yeah.
So some people were taking it very seriously and others were just kind of excited about a local monster hunt. So local police and the county sheriff, George Johnson, I'm not going to spell that one.
Which Johnson can be spelled
multiple
it's
spelled
ways.
The regular way. They were trying to assure everybody that there was no monster on the loose, and at the very least, it wasn't a supernatural being. Maybe they were misidentifying something.
A wolf.
Sure.
A flying wolf.
Yes. So the sheriff publicly stated that he believed that the reported creature was just a heron.
I'm sorry? Like the bird.
Yep.
I see.
A big bird that locals called a shitty poke.
It's probably pronounced like shitapoke or something.
Well, Shitepoke.
Shitapoke.
Fine, a shitepoke. And he was thinking that this bird just must have strayed from its normal habitat and ended up here, and people are just mistaking this big-ass heron for a Mothman.
As I've told you, I've definitely told you, I don't know if I've ever said it on here, that blue heron that I met where we used to live, and I've named him Frank, and he pops up every now and then, and I will never I think I did say it on here, how I'll never forget the first night that I saw it, and I was walking one of the dogs, and it was totally quiet outside, and I heard this odd sound, and I she looked up, and then it made me look up, and it was majestic. I couldn't believe the size. It was flying so low. The sound, I absolutely got dinosaur vibes. I mean, I get freaking dinosaur vibes from a freaking robin.
Chickens.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So it doesn't take much, but this thing was total pterodactyl material, and it was so moving, and it wasn't like a super dark night. There must have been moonlight or something, because I could see it pretty well. There's no way in hell, even though that is such a large bird that I would have ever thought, actually, that might be a monster. Like, you just knew what it was.
All right, well.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. I can't say what these people saw or what they didn't.
Right.
Wildlife experts also weighed in. So a biologist from West Virginia University, he offered his 2 cents.
Great blue heron knowledge.
And he thought that it might be a sandhill crane.
Oh my God, they're all so beautiful.
Which is a tall crane with a 7-foot wingspan and reddish coloring around the eyes.
Which would match 2 of the supposed traits.
That he thought might have been blown off course from its normal migration. That happens.
Also, do you have a picture of that? Are they normally gray or are they white?
I don't have a picture of that.
Because I was going to say, if they're gray, that would also make sense with some of the descriptions describing it as gray.
Right. I feel like colors, if you're seeing this at night, it can all be the same color, and you might, just depending on the way the light's hitting it, how much light there is,
artificial,
what's being reflected. Yeah, I don't know. But call. So not everybody, though, buys this bird theory, especially those who have seen the red flying man up close. So, and of course, there is no bird, including like a peregrine falcon, which is the fastest bird out there, that can match speeds of 100 miles an hour.
Well, good. I'm not used to managing the weight of the microphones for so long. I'm fumbling it. Yeah, no, you're right. I forgot about the speed factor in all of this. And yeah, that's...
And some people said that it, like when they saw this creature and when it took off like straight up like a helicopter, not like a
bird.
Right.
Like a plane.
You got it. So now there's this like debate between the skeptics and the believers about what the hell's flying around Point Pleasant. So by one estimate, over 100 people may have seen this Mothman creature during that year.
Over 100 people.
By one estimate.
That's
1966 to 1967. Though many refused to talk about it much after, like just saying they saw it to avoid ridicule, which probably means a bunch of others saw it and just never said a word, like you said you wouldn't.
Happens, exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that probably there was a bunch of people who saw it and just didn't say anything else.
Oh yeah.
So whatever this thing was, whether it was a misidentified bird, mass hysteria, or a legitimate monster, the creature, whatever it was, did seem to favor this specific area known as the TNT area, a deserted tract of woods and abandoned concrete igloos that were high with explosives where explosives were stored during World War II. So if you or anybody else wants to find the Mothman, that's where you should be headed.
And we're talking present day, people are still claiming that there are sightings.
Well,
would we actually go there if we
I think
this?
the place still exists, yes. So 14 months has gone by. And there's, a bunch of Mothman reports that just keep trickling in. And then, just as abruptly as it started, it just stopped. The creature just vanishes. Now, what's interesting about this, though, is that when the creature vanished, it coincided with a pretty much horrible tragedy that happened.
In the bird community?
No. That would link Mothman to this catastrophe, like in many people's minds. So, on December 15th, 1967, during the busy Christmas shopping rush, the Silver Bridge, which ran across the Ohio River at Point Pleasant, completely collapsed without warning. And it sent cars and trucks plummeting into the freezing water.
And I'm sorry, when in December was this?
December 15th.
Right before Christmas.
46 people died. It was the worst bridge disaster in American history up to that time. And it pretty much devastated the community of Point Pleasant.
Oh, yeah.
So in the aftermath, the cause was found to be a failure of a single I-beam in the suspension chain. So essentially a tragic, structural flaw that happened.
That really could have been prevented.
So almost immediately, though, after this bridge, locals begin to wonder, Was this in any way connected to the Mothman? I'm not sure why you'd connect that, but because they were basically saying like Mothman was around, he was around, everybody was seeing him. Now nobody sees him, the bridge collapses and nobody sees this Mothman again. Like he wanted to go out with a bang
and collapse the bridge.
So now some Point Pleasant residents recalled that a few people claimed to have seen a strange flying creature on or near the bridge just before the bridge fell. To those inclined to the supernatural stuff, it seemed like a very eerie, coincidence. So they began to wonder if Mothman might have been a warning to this town of Point Pleasant about this impending doom. Like he was projecting this disaster. A harbinger of disaster, they called him.
So not that he did something to the bridge to cause the collapse. Okay. Because I was going to say, in all these reports that people are making, he did not inflict harm on anyone, but possibly banned it.
I view it like they were talking about him like how the Irish would talk about like a banshee. Like when you hear a banshee call, it's because somebody's going to die.
Yeah.
Like the banshee isn't actually killing you.
Right.
So...
but just the little warning call, if you will.
So more skeptical townsfolk believed that the timing was, like I said, just a coincidence because the bridge had been built in the 1920s and it was old and overstressed, and maybe a large Mothman didn't actually know it was going to fall down and decide to show up to tell everybody. But after 1967, there were no more reported Mothman encounters in Point Pleasant. It was as if the creature had just come and gone with the chaos of that year, and then the real-life horror of the bridge collapse happened, and it put an end to the frenzy. And for a long time, the Mothman legend went completely quiet in Point Pleasant. And then, of course, people are just distracted. They're grieving. They're recovering from this disaster. So any talk of what this giant flying monster was took a back seat to, just trying to rebuild their lives. So... but like I said, there was this huge association between Mothman and this bridge catastrophe. And it kind of cemented itself into American folklore. So in later years, folks would dramatically talk about that whenever Mothman appears, some terrible event may follow. Like I said, a harbinger of doom. This idea that the creature was like a prophetic creature of doom became one of the central themes of the legend of Mothman. Stories even cropped up linking Mothman-like apparitions to other disasters around the world. So, for example, some claim that a Mothman was seen near Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Before the nuclear accident happened in 1986.
Did you watch that documentary?
No.
Me neither.
Or some people had claimed that they saw a Mothman-like creature in New York before 9/11. Or in Japan before the 2011 tsunami, people were saying that they thought they saw Mothman. Now, of course, these tales are unconfirmed and mostly just veer into the urban legend territory, but it shows how Mothman has grown into a big symbol for the supernatural community and all that stuff. So while Point Pleasant then tried to move on from this story, Mothman was not dying. So if anything, it evolved and grew in the telling of it. It's like that. It's like how fishermen are like, oh, I caught a fish this big, and then he comes back and I caught a fish this big, and oh, it was this big if it was a mile long or whatever.
Whisper down the alley.
Right. So it just kept growing and gaining more momentum of this urban legend and stuff like that. So in the late 1960s and 70s, a few investigative writers and researchers began determined to basically chronicle what had happened in West Virginia. So one of these people was Gray Barker, and he was a West Virginia native and a UFO enthusiast who had earlier popularized the legend of the Flatwoods Monster, which I don't know what that is, but maybe we'll do one on that. In 1970, Barker wrote a book called The Silver Bridge, which was the first to put the Mothman saga into print for a wider audience. Barker's account blended factual sightings with speculative fiction, introducing readers to this eerie notion that Point Pleasant had been visited by something beyond explanation. But it was another researcher by the name of John A. Keel who truly put Mothman on the map and gave the legend its paranormal flair. because Keel was a New York journalist and a UFO researcher, and he arrived in Point Pleasant in 1966 at the height of the Mothman sightings, because like I said, it was drawing a bunch of people in. And he teamed up with the local reporter Mary Heyer to interview witnesses and document the wave of weird occurrences. So not only sightings of the creature, but also reports of strange lights in the sky, electrical gadgets going weird, like that man with the TV. People were also claiming that they had encounters with the ominous men in black who would like show up. They would be dressed nice. They would warn people to keep quiet about what they saw. So Keel became convinced that the Mothman was part of a larger web of supernatural phenomenon that were afflicting the area. So in 1975, he published The Mothman Prophecies, a book that wove together the creature sightings, talked about UFO activity, spooky coincidences, and the Silver Bridge disaster, but he kind of made it into like a whole story, which doesn't sound like a bad book, I guess.
I agree.
Keel's book suggested that an intelligent form from the beyond, whether it was alien spirits or something else, was at work in Point Pleasant. And he even claimed to have received cryptic phone calls predicting the bridge collapse and encountered the otherworldly messengers. So,
wow.
I don't know about that, sir. But I guess that's what I take issue with. Not the large flying Mothman, but that this man got a phone call. Need to check myself. So in his book's conclusion, it basically linked Mothman as a harbinger of the bridge collapse. And, it just became super popular with fans of like the legend and stuff, like, and the paranormal community. Like, they were hooked on the Mothman.
It is fascinating. Like, I mean, I'm definitely curious about it.
You are.
I am.
So decades go by, and the Mothman occasionally pops up in pop culture and TV shows, but it wasn't until Hollywood came calling in the early 2000s that the creature truly got brought into like the spotlight. 2002 film The Mothman Prophecies, which was loosely based on Keel's book, hit theaters. Now, I've never seen this movie.
I was just going to ask you, and I assumed you had.
Nope, but it starred Richard Gere
Oh, wow.
as a journalist investigating strange events in West Virginia. And of course, this took a lot of liberties with the
Of
true
course.
story, but it captured the eerie vibe of the legend and these shadowy like apparitions and creatures and weird phone calls from the beyond. So the film's release introduced a new generation to Mothman. And once again, now that it's a Hollywood film, millions of people who have never heard of Point Pleasant's winged creature were very intrigued, just as you are. So sadly, the movie wasn't a blockbuster, but it did achieve cult status, like Hocus Pocus. That too was not a blockbuster.
That's a good point, which I don't
flopped.
know. I can't like wrap my head around that.
Me
That's
either.
fact.
It's pure art.
Right.
So one of the locals, Charles Humphreys, he said, until that movie came out, I just never thought much more of Mothman, but the film's popularity made Point Pleasant newsworthy again. Which, at this point, it's like you should start profiting off of this.
Oh, for sure.
Like, regardless of if it's a bad thing or not, in terms of like Salem and the witchcraft the witch trials, like that was horrible, but it's certainly making their community pretty prosperous now.
Oh, I'll say.
So, but speaking of that, Mothman does live on in Point Pleasant now because they decided that they started to do festivals and created a museum for him.
Wow.
So
I think that's nice.
I do too.
Especially the museum.
All right. Well, the renewed fame of the film did something very interesting. It prompted the people of Point Pleasant to just start, like, instead of being like, no, I don't want to play in this. I don't want to play in this. They started to embrace it and embrace their legendary monster with pride. So they stopped trying to put the story down or like they like act like they were embarrassed by it. And they began to see Mothman as their claim to fame. A unique piece of local heritage that could even attract tourists and unite the community. So in 2002, like I said, kind of inspired by the movie and stuff, Point Pleasant hosted its first annual Mothman Festival.
Aww.
So it started as a small gathering of a few hundred curious folks, and since has exploded into a major event. Every third weekend of September, thousands of people from around the world flood this small town's main street to celebrate their favorite red-eye cryptid.
Do you know the amount of revenue that probably brings in
I'm
for
sure.
the town? That's good for them.
I agree, good for them. This festival features guest speakers like authors, paranormal people, eyewitnesses. There's live music, there's costume contests. I should have gone. And even bus tours that take visitors out to the old TNT igloos where the creature was once sighted.
Would you go out there?
For a bus tour, probably.
Daytime or evening?
I think if I was in a bus, I think I'd do it at night.
You'd get out of the bus, though, as a group.
As a group,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not interested in I don't want to go just with one person and we're just taking we're taking a Kia out there and parking somewhere and exploring like Scooby-Doo. No. But if I was a tour guide and
Mitsubishi.
Let's look around, let's see what there is to see, you and the other 35 people, that's a little more.
Yeah.
I think that's a little better. Would you? I think you would.
I wouldn't do it at all at night in a group or single anything. No. Daytime, I would do anything. I wouldn't need
She
a group.
means that.
I don't think I would actually want to do the group. I would like a guide sort of person to be talking as you're walking and maybe point things out. But
Dr. Alan Grant.
oh my God, what a dream that would be.
It's like, Natalia, what are those? Gallimimus.
Baboom.
Natalia, what is that? Martha Man. So during this festival, you will see families taking selfies with Mothman. He has a
What do
statue
you
now.
mean?
He has a statue.
Oh.
But I'm sure people are dressed up as him.
Yeah, but I thought you meant he freaking comes and they're doing selfies
Yeah, that's
with him.
exactly what I meant.
I don't know.
But I picture his statue to be very much like the Samantha Stevens statue in Salem. People probably wait in line to
Kiss
take a
it.
picture or something like that. So they sell Mothman T-shirts and cookies, and there's even a Miss Mothman pageant.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
You really should go with your costume.
So the town that once cowered in fear to this creature has now found a way to laugh, celebrate, and profit a little bit from this monster. By the late 2010s, festival attendance was estimated at 15,000 people each year. A huge boost for a town of only 4,000 residents normally.
That is so fantastic for them.
I think it is too.
Yeah. If any of you chillers have been to this or live there, please tell us.
Please tell us.
Get in touch.
Yeah, please. So I told you about the statue. So it's a 12-foot stainless steel Mothman statue in downtown Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
I want to see this.
While you're looking it up, I'll continue to tell you about it. It was sculpted by Bob Roach
Bubby's boy.
in 2003, and it stands as a tribute to the town's legendary creature.
No, wait a minute. Did you say...
No, you wait a minute.
Did you say the dimensions?
12 feet.
Shit. Do you know that's always my image of what 12 feet is being a kid at the pool, and that was the deepest section of the pool,
Fascinating.
which felt like another town to me at the time when I would get to the bottom. I loved it. It was
You went to the bottom of the
hell yeah, I loved it. That was when I was super brave.
Yeah, not for me.
Not at all what I imagined.
Shami?
Dare I say I'm a little disappointed. Can you see?
Oh, I can see.
Yeah.
Well, what did you imagine? I think it's pretty.
I guess it looks like Steel Man.
I said it was a stainless steel figure.
I know, but oh my God, do you see this one with the freaking dog? God love it. right underneath him.
Little bandit.
This just looks...
Listen, don't take Talia's word for it. Go see it for yourself or look it up.
I thought he'd look friendlier. I will say they nailed the red eyes and they make him look...
How the hell hard is that? They put red eyes on a statue.
Well, look at them. They're different. It's not like they're just
creepy.
Red beads. They're like fly eyes. And he sort of is like very insect-like for his head. I mean, I don't get a bird vibe at all. Even the wings, the poor wings have all these holes. And I'm not impressed. Not what I was imagining at all.
All right. Can I tell you about the museum now?
You surely can.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, besides the festival, one of the town's must-see things is the Mothman Museum. That was opened in 2006 by Jeff Wamsley.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
He was a lifelong Point Pleasant resident who, as a kid, heard the Mothman tales from his father and later became one of the legend's biggest curators. The museum proudly calls itself the world's only Mothman museum and is filled with fascinating memorabilia, like, for example, the original newspaper clipping that said, man-sized bird, creature, something. Copies of police reports and handwritten witness statements, photographs of the TNT area, and exhibits on the 1967 bridge collapse. There are also displays about the making of the 2002 film, including some of the props and costumes used in the movie. So if you walk inside, you'll be face to face with Mothman artwork and a lifelike replica of the creature, complete with its glowing red eyes. There are 2 books that he wrote about Mothman: The Facts Behind the Legend in 2001 and Mothman Behind the Red Eyes in 2005. And they are books that compile a bunch of interviews and evidence about the case. So thanks to efforts like his, Point Pleasant's Mothman legacy has been preserved and transformed into a source of local pride and revenue. So, since there is a whole bunch to talk about with Mothman, we are actually going to do a 2-parter. So, as we wrap up the first part, Talia, what do you think of the Mothman? I mean, you said you'd never heard of this before, besides the movie.
Right.
What do you think about what you've heard, him as a entity himself?
I'm super intrigued. Right. I mean, he definitely sounds like an alarming fellow to come into contact with. But like I said earlier, he doesn't hurt anyone, well, except Bandit. But I'm even curious what happened. I mean, did he take Bandit on in his pet? Oh my God. Did he take Bandit on as his pet? Probably not.
To go for walkies.
Right.
To go get a pup cup.
Right. You know, I would venture to guess no, but you never know. But that's the thing. It's like that's the only harm that we know of has really inflicted on someone. Mm-hmm. So I like that he's not known as this like violent creature. I'm very curious about him. I love this story. I'm very intrigued. I believe. I sure do.
All right.
What about you?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's a cool concept. I like that it does mix the creepy factor, but not the deadly factor.
Yes.
I'm always a big fan of that. Like,
do no harm. Yeah.
Well, yeah, just like, okay, you know, like, again, this isn't something you necessarily want to see looking at you in a window at night, but he's also not, from what we are aware of, a crazed killer who breaks the glass, comes in and strangles you.
Okay, all right, thank you, yes.
Eats your head.
Got it.
So anyway, like I said, we are going to do a 2-parter just because there's a few other things to talk about and a few other stories to tell. So
it's quite like a packed topic, and I feel like even with what you have done, what you're about to do in the next episode, there's probably like oodles and oodles more you could. It's just such a huge topic. But,
you know, so that's where we're going to pick up next time. So having said that, until then, everybody,
stay safe
and stay chill.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Catch you in the next episode. You've just listened to Chillworthy. Thank you for joining us on this latest episode. While we strive to keep our discussions engaging and lighthearted, we also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the real lives and events that are at the heart of these stories.
We try to approach each topic with a sense of curiosity and respect, fully aware of the impact these events have had on the individuals and their loved ones. Our goal is to honor their memories by keeping their stories alive and shedding light on the mysteries that surround them.
If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, and don't forget to join us on the next episode of Chillworthy.